It's yours, brother.
All right. No, I can handle it. I can do it.
I mean, what does Don do, by the way?
Nothing? I mean, oh, Don. Hey,
Greatest job in the world, making him look good.
that's a full-time job, right? So anyway, folks, thanks for having me. I want to thank all of you. Moreover, I think it's brilliant that you guys meet like this in these mini camps, you know, and kind of share best practices and, you know, information and techniques to help your business grow. I think that's pretty cool, you know, and the fact that your leadership's here to support that, I mean, you guys deserve a round of applause for that. Did I do good? I started off right, didn't I? All right. I also want to thank Tom for inviting us. You know, when he called and said, hey, you have an opportunity to come talk to some folks, I jump at that opportunity every time. I get pretty darn excited about my company. So if I get overly excited up here, just wait a few minutes, it'll subside, and I'll be back down to normal, all right? But, you know, there's an old saying in business that if you want to grow your business, you need to talk to a lot of people. Would you guys agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Do you know what the good news is?
You talk to a lot of people.
There's a lot of people to talk to, right? That's the cool thing, right? So you can never go broke when you're talking to people, right? So again, I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to talk with you and to share my story. So One Source. One Source, we started about 8 years ago, and Tom said to introduce me. I'm John Leach. I was the person that sat in the basement of my home 8 years ago and picked up the phone 150 times a day and called real estate agents, introducing them to this great opportunity to save their customers a tremendous amount of time and aggravation from having to research and locate and identify these home service companies, service providers like utility companies, water companies, etc., cable companies. So I called them and convinced them. And you know, you guys deal with realtors? Yeah. Show of hands, how many of you guys deal with realtors? So quite a few of you. They buy in right away, don't they? No? What made it worse, there was another company that tried to do this and failed. So I had to work through some reputation issues in St. Louis. So it took me about 3 years of hammering the phone, and then we opened it up to the nation. So in the last 3.5, 4 years, we've been around, and we offer our service on a national level. We are also, you know, I'm going on 7.5, 8 years here, we have not had one complaint, or any complaints. Right, you didn't have one, you had two. We haven't had any complaints at the Better Business Bureau. We have an A+ rating. Right? In this day and age in the service industry, how many companies can tout that they have 0 complaints? Right? Probably most of you, right? That's pretty cool, right? So we share something in common there, right? We actually care, right, about our reputation and so forth. So anyway, so I remember starting with 1 or 2 customers a month to now over 10,000 a month, and it's going on our 8th year. So, and that's all because of folks like you that have bought into our story and share the same passion that we do for bringing convenience to the customer's move. Fall and die up here, right? So anyway, there are some traditional ways that a customer has at their leisure to identify service providers. Right? They can pick up they can go on Google, search for themselves. They can ask friends. They can ask their realtor, because the realtor always knows, right? But that requires, in the traditional way, for them to spend a lot of time doing that and going through the aggravation of calling a water company, sit on the phone for an hour to find out it's the wrong water company, or they go down to the water company and forgot their driver's license or some type of, or the lease or the ownership papers for the house, right? Or it's a co-op in Southern Illinois where they have to show up in person. These are the types of things that they don't know about, right? Those are the types of things that we help them with. So it also requires them to make multiple phone calls, spend several hours messing around with this crap, multiple representatives they have to deal with. How many of you have changed your own utilities and dealt with the utility representatives? Right? We all have stories, I'm sure, right? Biased. What I mean by biased, if you called Comcast and asked them if they had the best cable deal, what do you think they're going to say? Oh, yeah. Right? And you call their competitor, Time Warner, what do you think they're going to say? Right? So how does a customer know who's the best? Well, the best way is to go with an unbiased source, right? Probably, and I get in trouble for saying this all the time. I think I put a muzzle on myself, but we know more about their business than they do, right? We research it all the time, okay? No additional perks involved with setting up your own utilities. No branding from a real estate or home inspector, etc. And there's an opportunity for service providers to, or they miss an opportunity to stand out amongst the crowd, right, and differentiate themselves from a competitive standpoint, right, by being more resourceful for their clients. Right? How many times have you heard someone say, well, I do home inspections only, I don't really care about this other stuff? Have you heard people say that? Right? I mean, we work a lot of home inspection shows, we've heard that a time or three, maybe four, maybe five, right? But at one source, we do all the research. We identify and introduce those service providers to the customers. We do a courtesy call reminder for appointments. One call, 15 to 20 minutes. It's a personalized service approach. It's unbiased. We don't push one product over the other or one service over the other. I think it was Derek that was asking me that earlier, right? There's branding for the agents and home inspectors and so forth. Because when you think about it, when you deliver a service that saves them time and aggravation, makes your life more convenient, what does that do for you? Right? Drives a favorable customer service experience, doesn't it? So it keeps you top of mind with them, anyway, for that minute, right? Okay? And it's more relational. Okay? I'm like organized. I have a PowerPoint and everything. Right? So our mission statement, we will ensure that every client's interaction with one source is impeccable, ultimately eventuating into a hassle-free experience as it relates to the connections of their home services, right? So we actually believe this, and I take this very seriously. So if you ever had a problem, or if anything bubbled up that didn't kind of coincide with this mentality, what do you think would be, what do you think you should do at that point?
Call you. You're right.
Call me, right? Call me. This is the type of things that I'm very interested in. I'm also interested in the good stories, don't get me wrong. But we don't want to have a bad reputation. Keep in mind, our service was designed on the backs of realtors. So I spent those first 3 years asking realtors what's important to them in this type of service, right? And the realtors are your customers, so it should kind of parallel, right? Okay.
There are referral based. I wouldn't call them our customers.
Well, I mean, anytime you're trying to, okay, I'm going to buy into
Who
what
do
you're
you
saying.
market to?
No, they're a center of influence, our customers.
Yes, SSCI, yes. But anyway, the process. Once your customer is referred to OSC or OneSource, it comes to an info box, and at that point, one of our people input that into the system, and it kicks out a receipt to the realtor or the home inspector and the customer, and lets them know that we received their information and we'll be reaching out to them, right? But for a clean referral, this saves us some calls to a home inspector or a realtor asking for the customer's what? Phone number. It seems to be the biggest issue we have. Is that what you run into, Don?
Absolutely.
Especially, you guys familiar with Keller Williams? They have these green sheets, right, that the reps don't fill out all the way, right? So we're embedded in a lot of Keller Williams across the nation, and they send us these green sheets once a week, and we have about 10% of them that we have to reach out and ask for some missing information. So for a clean referral and for a seamless situation for all, customer name, number, email address, closing date, who the consultant was, or the realtor, home inspector, et cetera, relocation company, whatever, right? OneSource Solutions will generate both the relocation consultant and the customer referral submit, so both parties get that information. This is what it looks like. I'm not going to read this, unless there's no one that can read it. Do I need to do that? No, that was a joke. Okay.
This is an email that you're sent out?
This generates as a receipt it comes into the email. Whomever's email, in this case, it would have been Kimberly at OS Connects would have gotten an email, and whoever the consultant was, it's kind of cut off at the bottom. When the referral comes in, it goes to our research department. Our research team will identify all of the providers that are available at that new move-in address, from utilities, electric, gas, water, entertainment needs, internet, phone, TV, and the alarm companies that are available to them. All right? Then it moves to the appointment center. Appointment center calls. There's an introductory call. If the customer tells us no in any one of these 3 steps, what do you think we do?
Take them off.
What's that?
Take them off the list.
Yep, that's exactly what we do. There's no hypnotic state that we put them in, right? We don't throw any dust in the air, no magic tricks. There's no push-pull, no sales, right? It's a true customer service experience. If they want to take advantage of the service, we do that. If they don't, we don't. But we have a 3-call approach, so we're touching your customer 3 times, and then after that, they go into a loss bucket, okay? And we don't contact them anymore. And the hyperstay, or what do you call it, vaporizes, or whatever the terminology is in the IT world. So if we call your customer and they say, yeah, I want an appointment, or we call them and they don't or we don't answer, they automatically get an introductory email, which lays out the services that we offer, which I'll get into here pretty short time here. There's a final reminder email on the 3rd call. If we don't get a hold of them, we send them this email as a final reminder to get their utilities connected. Now there's something happening prior to this. Can I share the wrong one?
What do you want to share?
This is how it works?
Yeah, we already covered that before.
Oh, well, great. So you guys know how the customer learns about us, right? Okay, great. Excellent. Good. Fishing, right? I'm trying to keep you engaged. You see that, right?
You pay, your company pays
No,
for it?
we use
You
their
charge
we use their credit card. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So do you let them know when that's happening? Because a lot of the first-time home buyers are obviously unaware, and if they're
The
just
neat
going
thing
like
is that if that is a requirement from a company, that's shared during the product information specialist call. So they'll let them know right then and there that your electric company is requiring that there's a $50 deposit or whatever.
So that's in the explanation of who's who and what's what.
Yeah, exactly.
Before they even make a decision.
And if after the fact we put in their information to submit to the company and they say, hey, there's a deposit, happens with electric companies all the time.
Yeah.
There's a deposit of $250 required, right? We actually have to get back with the customer and let them know that there's a deposit. We're not going to take their credit card if they needed it for cable and take that and put it on an electric bill. We have to get their permission to do it. Everything that we do, right?
You said that the utility companies require a purchase agreement before they'll allow you to hook up. But what if the closing hasn't happened? Will they still allow you to do the hookup even though the title has not transferred?
Oh, what you're talking about is in some situations, not very many, but for example, in Southern Illinois, there are co-ops, electric co-ops. And the customer is required to go in and show identification along with their paperwork that they've taken over the home, right? In those cases, they can still get around it because what customer is going to want to go in and pay for electric at a place they're not moving into, right? So with ID and so forth, so you can get around that. But it's nice to have, the last one.
And you guys
Not a
look
must, but a nice.
you look at all of the options, like around here, we've got a lot of propane.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
co-ops and different companies from around the area, and
Absolutely. Yeah, we identify every player that's available. The only area we don't get involved in is trash. We'll give the customer the numbers for those, but we're not involved with setting up trash service.
you have to obtain any, like, if there's an existing propane tank from a certain company on site, a different company can't come fill that tank, they need different gauges. So you find out if there's one existing on property
Exactly.
already.
We'll ask
Is it gonna be cheaper?
Sometimes we have to call the listing agent and ask who the provider is, right? And we do pretty extensive research. We get a complete department, department that handles that. That's really the most critical piece of this, is that we don't get all of the providers out in front of them, well, we're not doing our job, right? And then after the fact, they find out, well, I could have went with this. And that's a call you don't want, right? They swindled me, right?
Now I can't get out of it.
Right, exactly.
Would some of the states be deregulated for,
No.
you guys price shop for the customer or just kind of lock them into whatever they're
For
offering?
example, it's a great question, I get it all the time. In Dallas, Texas is a deregulated area. Dallas is not deregulated, it's actually a company that's forced to deregulate. So Reliant, which is the incumbent provider, has all this competition, from different companies. So we pick the biggest 5 or 6, because in Houston alone, you could have 30 companies that could service that and vie for that customer's business. But what we did is we went and we did the pros and cons of every company, and we listed the top 5, and we asked the customer if they want to choose. If not, we won't set it up, but here's what we find, or have found. And here's the hidden agendas in the small print on the contracts. Right? And we let them decide what fits for them.
The information you provide, it's like, for this electric company, it's this much per kilowatt hour, and this much per kilowatt hour.
In a deregulated, yes, in a competitive situation. For example, it could be 5 cents, whatever, it could be up to 10 cents per kilowatt hour, depending on the area that you're in.
Where do you get paid? Who pays for your service?
It comes out of your paycheck. No, we're paid from the providers that actually allow us to do paid services, like cable companies, satellite, alarm companies, etc. Telephone. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Well, where does the initial contact come from? Okay, we put a brochure in the binder, we put the timeline in the binder, and explain. Okay, then what's the next contact? How do you get that?
There's a company that you folks use called Lone Wolf, and they send out an email on behalf of Housemaster introducing, at 30 days, introducing the free utility help, and then again at 16 days as a final reminder. So that's how they would hear.
That one slide, or the one display you had with the name, address, email, all of that, we're not supplying that.
No. The only reason I show you that is what it looks like when it goes back to the customer.
So all we have to do is give them the brochure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you folks can do, to drive attention to the service, right? Because I know for a fact, after hundreds of polls and studies that I've done over the 8 years, that 99% of the folks would definitely take the help with connecting utilities, right? And other services. So it all comes down to, it's like anything, if you're focused on it, it's going to bring interest to it. Right?
But I guess,
I'm not asking you to be one-source reps, right?
yeah, our opportunity is we're going through this resource guide, we're now talking about the buyer benefit program, pointing out and explaining what this is, because this, the Sears discount is pretty intuitive, but this probably isn't as intuitive.
Yeah, that's very well said. There's so many moving parts to it that a lot of people don't get it the first time. They don't understand it, and they think there's a charge to it. When you say free, they go, wow, why is it free? How can it be free? And there's got to be something going on here.
It's like what I mentioned before about being the 3 anchors for the program, to be One Source, Sears, and Lowe's. I think those are some of the very strong providers within that program. So by mentioning that it's a free service, as a hassle, saves them so much time and effort. I think it's going to go a long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because they'll get the email
They get 2 emails
automatically, but then this is probably the one that they're a little cloudy on, in terms of what it really is and what's not.
Do you do this only for people moving, or do you also do it for people that are established and maybe are searching for a
Better deals.
different cable company or a different internet company? Do you guys take those referrals as well?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. We like those.
Yeah.
Makes it really easy when not connecting utilities. That's a money maker right off the bat. Any other questions, comments, retorts, suggestions? Well, listen, folks, I appreciate you taking the time and giving me your attention for the last 20 minutes or so. What is it? Leonard Nimoy obviously just passed away, didn't he? You guys all heard about that. But I'll pay him a tribute. Live long and prosper. All right?